we are going to resume the Tuesday, September 12th regular council meeting. And I'm just going to begin with, I'm going to be doing a little bit of adjustments on the agenda, but I will ask for an approval of the minutes of August 22nd. We'll get that one out of the way. And Councillor Macon?
I'll make the motion that we approve the minutes from the August 22nd, 2023 council meeting.
Thank you. Were there any errors or omissions? Not seeing any. I am going to close the motion. Please cast your vote. Okay, and that is carried unanimously. So if everybody will indulge me, I know we typically do delegations first but we've got two under new business, and the people are sitting here in the audience, and I'm not going to sit here and make them wait through all of this, and I'm going to actually move straight to new business, and then following, as long as nobody objects up here, and then I will move back to delegations after, before we get to our presentations. So with that, we're going to actually, we're going to start with 7.2 and then 7.1. Okay, everybody can just indulge me today. So with that, Janelle Smith-Duguid. Pardon? Okay. No, there you go. There we go.
Good afternoon, Your Worship and members of Council. My name is Janelle Smith-Duguid, and I am the General Manager of Infrastructure and Planning, and I am here today to present a request for a decision to name a park in South Fort Meadows. The city's naming policy was adopted to ensure a coordinated and consistent approach to the naming and to ensure names reflect Fort Saskatchewan's unique history, culture, or significant contribution of community members and groups. The policy was last reviewed in January of 2023. Through the naming policy, individuals are nominated to a naming registry by members of the community. Council determines what names can be added to the registry based on the individual's contribution to the community. As opportunities arise, the registry is used to determine an appropriate name for community assets. Leslie McMillan, a longtime Fort Saskatchewan resident, was nominated to the naming registry in 2014. Leslie is known for her community contributions, including volunteering with the Boys and Girls Club, the Shell Theatre, and the Canada Day Committee for over 20 years. Leslie was also a founding board member and the longtime store manager of Twice But Nice. Twice But Nice is an example of a community partnership success. The store was established with an $8,000 loan from the City of Fort Saskatchewan in 1985. Over the past 38 years, the not-for-profit has contributed over $948,000 to local nonprofit organizations. A tribute to Leslie McMillan has been included in your council package, which will document within the public record the legacy that has been left by Leslie. I would like to thank Wendy Kinsella for authoring the tribute, as well as Roger McMillan, Judy Rehill, and Wendy Rhodes for their contributions to the tribute. The tribute states, "The vibrant town of Fort Saskatchewan, with its rich tapestry of history and culture, has been home to many incredible souls, but few have illuminated its streets and touched its hearts quite like Leslie McMillan. Leslie's presence in our community for over half a century has demonstrated resilience, boundless enthusiasm, and an unyielding spirit of service. It is not every day that one encounters a soul so devoted to the act of giving, so purely happy in the service of others. Leslie was always willing to lend a helping hand and was a wonderful volunteer. She was involved in numerous Fort Saskatchewan community organizations, including the Boys and Girls Club, Piranha Swim Club, Canada Day Committee, Citizens on Patrol, and many other non-profit groups. 56 years ago, when she stepped onto Canadian soil, hand in hand with her beloved husband, little did Fort Saskatchewan know that it was welcoming a beacon of community spirit. She quickly demonstrated her belief that joy could be found in every moment, especially when that moment was spent helping another. Leslie's enthusiasm for life poured out of her everywhere she went. The Leslie McMillan Park is located in South Fort Meadows. The park is a feature and amenity within the subdivision. The park includes large stormwater ponds, trails, and a small orchard. The park also includes the nearly completed South Fort Meadow Park amenity, which will feature a lit and boarded rink, 1,200 square foot supporting building, snowbank rink, and accessible plaza. The outdoor boarded rink will be hard surfaced to allow for year-round use, including ice sports, basketball, and box lacrosse. Should Council support naming this park the Leslie McMillan Park, a motion has been included in the Council agenda package. And at this moment, Your Worship, I'm happy to answer any questions that Council may have.
Okay, thank you very much for the presentation. As always, I'll ask if there's any questions first. If not, a motion. Councillor Blizzard.
Yes, I'd like to make a motion that Council approve naming the park within South Fort Meadows, legally described as Lot 1 PUL, Block 9, Plan 122-4308, and Lot 67 MR, Block 9, Plan 212-2284, the Leslie McMillan Park.
Thank you. I'll accept the motion. Would you like to speak to the motion?
Yes, I will. I think this is something that is definitely necessary. I've known Leslie myself for I think 20 or more years. I've known many of her family, and I see a lot of them here, her husband, her kids, grandkids, and even a great-grandchild. I remember her with the Boys and Girls Club. I was on the board at Twice But Nice and saw her lots, and she would go around town in an Easter Bunny costume with a basket handing out eggs. I don't think there's many people in Fort Saskatchewan that don't know her. Maybe some of our newer residents, but certainly she's been around a long time, and this is definitely a nice thing that we are doing.
Excellent. Thank you. So the motion is now open for discussion and debate, and I'm sure there will be some other comments, so feel free. Councillor Macon?
I don't think I can talk very long because I get all teary-eyed. I already am. I had the honor as the president of the chamber to give Leslie the Ken Hodgins Meritus Service Award. And that I felt was a really special night for me to see her get such a special tribute. And I think that this is no less special, and I'm very happy to be part of a council that gets to present this to her. So, and I definitely remember the bunny costume as a kid, and I think Leslie's just been part of this community for, I think, probably since I was born. So congratulations, Leslie, and this is so special and so well-deserved.
Thank you. Councillor Abatoye?
Thank you. Really can't top all that I've said already, but just wanted to say thank you to Leslie for her tireless volunteerism and selfless service in our community. I remember personally my first encounter with her being a new Canadian and working in CIBC. I remember her coming into the banking hall and just giving out chocolates and and just a great smile and a great personality and a wonderful British accent, which I love so much. So just want to say thank you, Leslie, and we're just so grateful for you. You're such a blessing to our community, and keep doing you.
Thank you. Councillor Nguyen?
Yeah, very, very happy to support this motion. Some of my earliest memories in Fort Saskatchewan are around the Piranha Swim Club and Leslie volunteering as an associate coach and countless hours there. They were extremely happy memories, and subsequently saw her around the community in various capacities. I just want to sincerely thank you for who you are and what you've done for the city of Fort Saskatchewan. Truly a beacon of light with your outgoing welcoming and positive spirit as a presence in Fort Saskatchewan, and your legacy, I believe, is truly unparalleled in our community.
Thank you. Councillor Kelly.
Thank you. I'm worse than Councillor Macon. I break up regularly up here. And Councillor Noyan just stole the word I was going to use, but I'm going to elaborate on it. It's been my experience in this community of over 50 years, that there are certain individuals, and there have been over that 50-year period, certain individuals that stand above the rest. It's those individuals that are beacons, that are magnets for the community, that draw the community together. Leslie McMillan was certainly a beacon in this community, and thank you, Leslie.
Thank you. So I will, of course, be supporting this motion as well. I think we all are touched by what Leslie has done within this community. There will be a formal ribbon cutting or unveiling, but as policy is, we got to approve it first here in Chambers. But Leslie, you know, I've known you since I've moved here back in a long time ago. You're International Women's, speaking to us at that time and talking about your history of moving here and your children and everything and your passion for this community. You know, you are truly a hero in Fort Saskatchewan, and I am so grateful that we can name this park while you're with us, and you're going to be able to see an unveiling taking place later this fall. So I just want to say congratulations. It's sounding like it's pretty unanimous around here. So I'm going to go to Councillor Blizzard to close. We'll cast our motion, then we'll take a couple of minute recess just to grab a couple of pictures.
I just want to say one more thing. When we do the ribbon cutting, maybe we should make it into a bit of a block party, and I'll happily supply a pile of, if I can't find chocolate eggs, chocolate balls, so that we can hand them out to anyone attending. And I still hear Leslie, you never called me Birgit. She always referred to me as Berg. Hey, Berg, what are we doing today? Anyway, I'll always hear that.
Okay, thank you. So with that, I'm closing the motion. Please cast your vote. And as I indicated earlier, everybody's going to be really patient with this agenda today. And that is carried unanimously. So now we're just going to take a couple minute recess. I'd like to just get a couple pictures. So if anybody wants to join in for maybe a picture. Pardon? The other naming? No, let's do this one, and then because then they can go.
Council Chambers is outside on your agenda.
We can do it here in Council Chambers. Roger, are you able to bring Leslie and the family up here? So everybody's just going to be patient today. I'm the chair. I can. So if everybody wants to come over here, and we'll maybe right here. Roger, right here. You can bring the family. And thank you very much for coming out. We'll see you at the official unveiling. I don't, Janelle, is there a date yet for the,
There is not a definitive date, but we can close that loop.
okay, thank you. And then we're going to now move back to 7.1, City Naming Registry, Inclusion and Application, Torres Field Media Booth. Andrew Kaiser presenting.
Good afternoon, Your Worship and members of Council. My name is Andrew Kaiser, and I am the City's Director of Legislative Services. And as a contagious crier, that was rough right before presenting, so I'll do my best. So as Janelle touched on, but I'll reiterate, as outlined in the report before you, Council's City Naming Policy and Procedure, Gov 002C, establishes a process by which the names of individuals can be applied to neighborhoods within the city, municipal parks, city assets, and facilities. The addition of a name to the city's naming registry is done with consideration to factors such as, quoting directly from policy section 4.3.2, an individual associated with the recreational activity for which the municipal park or facility is used. Given this criteria, I would like to speak about the application before you. On July 12th of this year, the city received an application for the addition of the name Graham O'Verne to the city's naming registry, and further, that the name be applied to the broadcasting booth of Torres Field, to be named the Graham O'Verne Media Center. The application, which is included in your agenda package, provides an overview of Graham's extensive contributions as an announcer for the football community of Fort Saskatchewan. In the application, the applicant paints a picture of the exciting environment Graham creates at Torres Field and on the road when he travels with the Fort Sting team. Administration has reviewed the application and feels it meets the requirements of the associated policy and procedure and aligns with the spirit and intent of the same. Administration's recommendation is that Council approve the addition of Graham O'Verne's name to the city naming registry and that it be applied to the broadcast booth at Torres Field. Thank you for your time, and I welcome any questions.
Okay, thank you. I'll open this up to any questions. If no questions, I'll take a motion. Councillor Macon.
Thank you. I'll make the motion that Council approve the addition of the name Graham O'Verne to the City Naming Registry.
Thank you. We will deal with each one of these individually. So I will accept that motion. Would you like to speak to the motion?
Only to say that based on the information that was provided, I do believe it is appropriate to add him to the registry.
Okay, thank you. The motion is open for discussion and debate. Okay, I'm not seeing any. Councillor Macon, anything on close?
No, thank you.
Thank you. Motion is now closed to add the name to the naming register. Please cast your vote. That is carried unanimously, and there is a second motion. Go ahead.
I'll make the motion that Council approve the application of the name Graham O'Verne to the broadcast booth of Torres Field to be named the Graham O'Verne Media Center.
Thank you. Would you like to speak to it?
Mr. O'Verne seems to mean a lot to the football community, and his contributions are such that I believe that this is a very special and important gesture for him and his family.
Great, thank you. I will open it up for discussion, debate, and comments. Councillor Blizzard.
I'll just make the comment that I know when we have the naming registry, sometimes we have names on there and they stay on there for a little while, but sometimes an appropriate venue comes up for a specific name, and I feel that this one applies to that. It sounds like he was very active with the Torres Field and the football club, so I think it's very appropriate.
Thank you. And I'll also speak in favor of this. When I heard about this and what's happening right now, and I know his wife is joining us here in the audience, I loved hearing his voice over the speaker. And my only comment would be, as he said, there's too many flags on the field. I think football goes way too long. My husband knows that, but I always enjoyed, there's a flag on the field, and it's like, so I think this is a really good way to commemorate him and what he has brought to this community for football. So, and thank you for being here this afternoon. Councillor Kelly?
Thank you. I'm just looking again. Maybe I missed it. Is there a plan someplace to provide the appropriate signage to recognize the new name for this particular room and facility? And whose responsibility is that going to be?
Through your worship, to Councillor Kelly, the applicant is responsible for the cost of the signage, and we are working with them right now to make sure that it's appropriate and where it'll be placed on the broadcast booth.
Perfect. So it's being looked after. Thank you. I didn't have the pleasure of knowing Mr. Overn like I certainly got to know Leslie McMillan. It's unfortunate. The credentials, the commendation, the recommendations are obviously very solid, and it seems very appropriate for this particular situation to have Mr. Overn's name associated with the room. So pleased to support the motion.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Macon, anything on close? No, I'll close the motion. Please cast your vote. And that is carried unanimously. And once again, if you're comfortable with that, could we get a picture with you as well? You'd be okay with that? Okay. So. It's kind of public as of today. Okay. But can we grab a picture with you anyway? Okay. So we'll just recess for a couple minutes. All right. Thank you, everybody, for your patience. So now I'm going to get back to the agenda at hand, and I will ask if there's anybody here that would like to speak as a delegation to any of the items that are on the agenda that we haven't already dealt with. Good thing. Okay, no delegations. So with that, we will deal with our first presentation, Linking Generations. We have Debbie Sinclair, Executive Director, and you have 15 minutes for your presentation. There was nothing. It was just minutes.
Thank you. It's very exciting to be back here again. I think the last time I appeared before all of you was 2 years ago or 3 years ago when we were starting to open programs out here. So thank you for allowing me to come back, share with you our program successes, and also to share with you our plans to continue moving forward within Fort Saskatchewan. Intergenerational programs have become more important than they ever have been in our 19-year history. We continue to be dedicated to maintaining intergenerational programming and connections whenever possible. We do know from experience that intergenerational programs build lasting friendships, keep our youth and our seniors connected, reduce isolation, depression, break down stereotypes, ageism, racism, and help both young and old to feel more optimistic about their futures. With me this afternoon is our board chair, Lynn Olenek, to express and share greetings from our board.
Good afternoon. Thank you for the opportunity to present and provide an update to you. This is part of our agreement of receiving funds from the City of Fort Saskatchewan, and we're very happy to come and present. A couple of things from the board's perspective that we have been doing this year is that we have updated our strategic plan. As we've seen continued demand for our programs, it's important that the board have a current and up-to-date strategic plan. And the other thing that we've been working on with our executive director is to develop a succession plan. As a not-for-profit organization, now expanded to 2 communities, we feel it's very important that we have stability built in to our planning and to our organization. So any questions you have as we do our presentation, we'd be more than happy to answer, and I'm going to turn over the bulk of it now to Debbie.
Thank you, Lynn. Our vision is a high-level statement that expresses what our future looks like. Our vision has been crafted to be concise, easily understood, and attainable. Our mission communicates what Linking Generations does and who we serve. As with our vision, the mission is concise and easily also understood. The mission and vision are closely linked as it is our mission that drives our vision. Our organization places emphasis on achieving our long-term goals, fulfilling our vision and our mission statements. This upcoming program year is our 3rd year in Fort Saskatchewan. We have become known for our successful and innovative programming and our proven ability to connect seniors and youth intergenerationally. When we provide our intergenerational programs, which sometimes can involve more than 400 students, we connect them bi-weekly for 1 hour each month. The relationships which develop over a school calendar year create social and emotional development and leadership skills. Through our visits, there is a mutual transfer of knowledge as students and seniors connect, social isolation is reduced, and self-esteem increases as our participants report a deeper sense of fulfillment in their lives. As I said, this is our 3rd year here. We continue to be partnered with Heartland Housing, Dr. Turner Lodge, and John Paul Middle School. In fact, only yesterday we were at John Paul Middle School, and we have oversubscribed student participation. For the amount of volunteer positions available, we have received 105 student applications. We have proven the demand for programming such as ours is indeed necessary. This year, word has spread, and we are expanding into Fort Saskatchewan. We are beginning to offer a new intergenerational program where we will now be matching elementary school children who will visit with seniors at Riverside Lodge. Do I have that right? Rivercrest Lodge. Our grade 2 students will visit bi-weekly, going and reading stories to our seniors, celebrating Halloween traditions or any other tradition, and making colored pictures together. We believe that our younger generation is just as easily able to make that intergenerational connection. This will add approximately 30 to 40 students into our program, and we have been told by Rivercrest Care Center that it will add at least 40 seniors also being able to be visited weekly or bi-weekly. One of our highlighted visits this year was our first annual meet and greet evening visit. Many of you attended this visit as well, but each participating student was allowed to bring one family member to meet the senior that he had been visiting. Together, we played a game called Truth and Lies. It was interesting to hear our seniors lie and hear their daughter or their son say, "I didn't know that about my parent." We were thrilled to have you attend, Mayor, And it was also very rewarding to have Twice But Nice and our EICS school trustee there to support us as well. So thank you. These are just a couple pictures of what it was actually like. Our Lincoln Generations is also very excited to announce another expansion into Fort Saskatchewan, and this is called our Volunteer Grandparent Program. This is a program we initiated in Sherwood Park in 2019 due to the demand from seniors who are still living at home but wanted to be involved with the community. We recruit individuals who want to go into our elementary schools, sharing their stories and their life experiences with our younger generation. When we decided to expand out here, we approached one school who easily came on board, and every teacher is now on board as well. We will have 9 classrooms beginning next week with our seniors attending. All of our volunteers met yesterday at the school, and it was unbelievable to see the tears that were already shed between the teachers and the students when they start talking about what they're going to be doing in the classrooms. One of our volunteers is bringing in their 98-year-old father so that the kids can see him as well. In Sherwood Park, we are right now currently participating within 12 schools with 53 participating teachers and 47 volunteers. That is just our volunteer grandparent program in itself. In our volunteer grandparent program last year, to give you an idea what can be done, we had one of our volunteers that was from Iran teach all of the students how to write their name in Arabic. So you can see that we are a benefit to our educators as well. When we look back on our success, it's amazing to realize how fast our programs have grown over the years, from being in one senior facility to now currently in 12 with our connected senior facilities, as well as our volunteer grandparent program. Linking Generations' success and sustainability comes largely from our volunteers who enable us to deliver leading-edge programs. Over the last year, one of our primary focuses was the development of a volunteer recognition program. Ongoing work towards developing this robust feedback and evaluation framework is in process to support the recognition of our volunteers. As I say, our students and seniors volunteer their lunch hours and commit to not missing a visit. At the end of last year, we had contributed with all of our programs to over 4,700 volunteer hours. That is a lot of community volunteer hours. Each year we benefit from the generosity of our funding partners with whom we work collaboratively to achieve a lasting impact in the lives of our youth, our seniors, and society as a whole. Our programs are offered at no cost to individual teens and seniors, regardless of religion, ethnicity, sexual gender. Our programs are totally supported by donations from corporations, businesses, foundations, government grants, and individuals. We are very grateful and we are very pleased for our partnership with the City of Fort Saskatchewan. With our growth, we hope to continue and to build only stronger on this partnership. Linking Generations has presented to many notable organizations this past year. When presenting to both the EICS and the EIPS school boards, it has been noted that we are recognized not only for fostering strong intergenerational communication and cooperation, but we are being recognized as a significant benefit to our educators. In 2022, we were awarded the County of Strathcona Outstanding Organizational Award for our commitment to seniors. We recently have been awarded the Community Partnership Award from Chartwell Seniors for their services we give to their seniors. And Linking Generations remains an active member with the Executive Leadership Steering Committee in Sherwood Park. Our success, though, can only be shared through testimonials from our students and our seniors, as you will witness by our 2 pictures here. The senior in this picture has been with our program. This is Dr. Turner Lodge since the beginning, and yesterday informed us that she's not leaving anytime soon. Our students stay with us. Most of our students who do come into our program in junior high remain with us throughout high school, and some do come on to then become volunteers in our program. As we close the books on another successful year, we look forward to 2023, our continued partnership with you, our new program expansions. We have much to be grateful for, and we're very excited about being out here in Sherwood Park. or in Fort Saskatchewan. Thank you. I'm so used to going back and forth. Thank you all very much. And any questions, we can answer those.
Okay, great. Thank you very much for your presentation and updating us on what you have been doing. Are there any questions of council? Councillor Blizzard?
Always good to have some questions, eh? Thanks for the presentation. I've seen this program in different forms over the years in different schools, so this is good that it's getting more established. And sometimes these type of programs are done by a teacher, and then when that teacher retires or moves or whatever, it goes with them. So this is nice that there'll be continuity. And I noticed in your numbers, so is it usually 2 students to 1 grandparent, 1 senior? Just
Yes.
because I see they're almost double.
What we do is when a senior comes on board, we always team them with 2 students. We do that so that should one student be ill, not being able to attend, we can pretty well guarantee that that 1 senior is always going to have somebody there to visit with them.
Uh-oh.
For playing board games and doing activities as well, it makes more sense sometimes with 3 people than 2. Yes.
True. Okay, thank you. That's all I have.
Okay, that looks like all. Oh, there we go. Councillor Kelly.
Thank you. Debbie, nice to see you again.
It's nice to see
And
you
Lynn
again.
as well. It's been a few years. It took me a few minutes to make the connection, actually. All positive, Debbie. I'm a huge supporter.
I know. Thank you.
Difficult day for me. We don't need to get into details on a transition plan, but you know, Lynn, that you have very big shoes to fill, and it's going to take some time. So I'm encouraged and pleased to hear that you guys are on it. Don't leave anytime soon. That's my only comment.
I have no intention.
Thank you. Councillor Macon, questions?
I don't have a question. I just wanted to say congratulations on your growth and your success over the past 3 years in Fort Saskatchewan, and just so much appreciation for what you do, and just the real true importance of what that means to both those kids and those seniors is just immeasurable, really. So thank you, and yeah, just my gratitude.
Thank you.
That looks like about it. So thank you very much for coming out this afternoon and updating us. And thank you for all you do. And Lynn, you'll always be Heartland Housing to me. It just, you know, just happens to be there. But it's still like a connection. So that's good. So thank you once again. And
Thank you all very much.
Good. You're welcome to stay and you're welcome to leave. Okay, we are going to move right along. We have Fort Saskatchewan Lions Club, Don Westman presenting. You'll have 15 minutes. Brian.
Good afternoon, Your Worship and members of council. My name is Don Westman. I'm the chairperson of the Lions Campground Operating Committee. So I am here to ask for a loan in the end of this presentation. But first, I'd like to give you a little bit of background on how the thinking and how it came about that we're here today. So last spring, I had a little bit of time to be down at the campground. We were working on some projects. And when I saw what was going on, I was quite surprised, even though I've been involved with that campground since the Lions took over. Last year was a tremendously successful year, the first full year after our expansion. But last spring, it dawned on me that we were unbelievably more busy this year. So I asked our contractor at the time to keep track of how many potential clients he was turning down. So I asked him to do it for a month. So last year, from the 15th of May to the 15th of June, we had 685 new reservations. This year, from the 15th, no, that's for the whole year, sorry. up until now, up until today, 685 new reservations. Today, we have 855 new reservations. During that month, he had turned down 94 potential people that were looking for spots. And that was over the whole summer. Most of it was on weekends, but not all. People coming out for weddings and things like that, and anniversaries and Christmas or birthday parties and things. 94 in the 1 month were turned down. And that's when I come to the conclusion we have to look on this. Our long-term plan was to expand that campground in probably 2 to 3 years from now. Because in order to come up with the money without impacting drastically the stuff we put back into the community, it would take that long, because we want to continue supporting all the groups we support in the city, and it was going to take that long. So we have to do something here. So then I recalled that back a few years, we had came to City Council and asked for a loan when we put the dock in at the Lions Community Fish Pond. And that was a lot for the same reason. It was going to speed it up for a couple of years. We had applied for grants and things like that. It was taking time. So we got that loan, thanks to you folks, or the Council of the Day. And when we paid that back in quicker than what we were planning, actually, we were told that the Lions Club has real good credit rating with this city. So I thought, well, maybe it's worthwhile talking. So I did approach the city. I've talked to some of you. I talked to some of the managers. And that's why I came back here. Just to let you know a little bit of a history on what we do sponsor. In the last couple of years, we sponsors the scholarships for the kids, the Fury girls hockey team, the food bank, the music festival, the swim sponsorships, birthdays in a bag through the food bank, a multicultural association, community band, high school theater, Families First, Scouts, high school football, Hospital Foundation, Huffs, the playgrounds, and the Lions Community Fish Pond. And going back a little bit before that, there's things like the library, the renovation to Families First, the $75,000 to the Dow Center, and a list goes on and on. The pool, the ongoing things like the wading pool in town all the time takes a tremendous amount of work and resources. So we didn't want to have to cut down on that, and yet we really feel the need is here to expand that campground. So we thought that'll just bring more money into the city in the long run. That'll keep the clientele that's interested in that happy. So we approached here. Just to come forward on the cancellations, the September long weekend that just passed, we had 30 people we had to say no to over that weekend alone. That's not those that applied before. That's that actually phoned and asked for a spot during those 3 days of that weekend. We turned down 30 people. That campground has been full more than it's been empty this year by a long shot. There's been a few days in August and the odd day here and there when it's not. Majority of the time, it is jam-packed full. We were fortunate enough, we managed to find room for a few of the evacuees come down. We had about 5 or 6 come down and stayed there. And we were ready to take on 20 more if necessary. I was prepared to fill up your ball diamond down there if we needed to, but we didn't have to. But anyway, so here now, what we're looking at is around a $300,000 expansion. It's hard to nail it down for sure because we don't want to ask for exact quotes from the contractors and whatnot, because if we do, they're going to be at the high end of things. And the contractors and business people in this community and with the Lions Club have been treating us very, very well. One of the invoices I got for some of the work we're doing already, they gave us a 75% reduction on their standard bill. So that's the kind of support we're getting from the community. But it will still be a tremendous amount of work and likely close to the $300,000. So I'm here today to ask for a loan of $150,000. And we would probably, if we get the expansion done this spring like we're planning on, then the following year we could start paying that back, or it'd be 2 to 3 years after that we could pay it back in a lump sum, is what the plan. And that's with the existing campground. With the expansion, it'd be another 16 sites. Hopefully and that way we can continue supporting all the people in the community that we want to support, that come to us and needs the support, and the need is there. There's a huge need. So that's why I'm here. $150,000 loan, and that campground, hopefully it's on track to start expansion early in the spring. And by June, it'll be completely ready to go. Thank you. Any questions?
Okay, thank you very much for your presentation. I'll open it up for questions of council. Councillor Blizzard.
Thanks for your presentation. How many sites do you have right now in the campground?
We currently have 42 sites. Now, 4 of those are tent sites with no servicing. 6 of them are sites with power only. So there's only 32 full service sites, but all the sites, even the tent sites, have been full.
So you have the other sites all have all 3 services, even a sewer connection?
They have sewer, water, and power. Some are 30 amp, some are 50 amp in the new part that we put in last year. We've got about, I'm going to say maybe 10. There are still 20 amp sites plus the 6 that are the pull through with no other services, only power. The rest are all 30 amp plus and sewer and water.
Okay. And is your expansion more in the wooded area, like kind of the same standard these current ones are?
It'll be almost twinned to the current one. A couple little changes here and there. It allows a little bulb at the top of it, a little more, the way the land is spread out, it's just a little bit different, but almost a twin to what we did the last time.
And just to, I guess, get this on record, fires are not allowed, or can propane fires be?
Propane fire pits only, and we rent them down there now so people can come in so they can get that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Sorry. Okay, I've got Councillor Harris next, clarifying questions.
Don, you had originally, I think, just before the last expansion, when you were doing the planning, we're looking at a phased basis. Was that 2 or 3 phases? So this would be the second phase of expansion, or the third, or what?
This would be the second phase of the expansion.
Okay.
And the long-range plan is to do this will bring us to about 58 sites, and there'll be approximately 30 to 35 more potential for in there. So once we get to over the 50 mark, the plan is that we will likely be able to do the next bunch in one phase. It would depend on the market. If we still see the market there, that's number one. And the second part would be the finances at the time. And once we're at 50 to 60, we feel we should be able to handle that expansion fairly easily.
Second question I've got, what would you suggest is the strategic marketing value from being down in Turner Park for a campground for our community?
You're talking about the location of it?
Yeah, well, what brings people, and what do they say about the
People
campground?
come in and everything is positive. We right now have people already booked for next summer that coming out from Edmonton, and they want to stay out here for a week or 2 weeks or a few weeks. Because they love it out here. They can easily walk uptown. They know the coffee discounts at the co-op. They come up to the farmers market. They're around all the time. There's people coming into town there, and because it's so close, they say, I can get some work done on my truck while I'm here because I can walk back and forth from the garages to the campground and where they're staying there. We have people from Fort Saskatchewan, quite a few this year, that are coming down because of the high price of gas and motels, and they can get out with their family for a few days and come down and walk the trails and see it. We have people now that are coming more and more for anniversaries and kids' birthday parties and things like that. They say, if this was out of town, we couldn't do this because we can come here, we can walk back and forth. It's just wonderful. The feedback has been unbelievably good because of that location.
So I take from that comment that you're suggesting that it is of value to our downtown community.
In my opinion, it's a huge value to the downtown. Absolutely huge.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Kelly.
Thank you, Don. I think you planted the seed for the loan today. You're not expecting council to make a decision today.
Absolutely not. I'm very familiar with the process of the council. I know it's going to take time. But having said that, we have started the application process for the permit. We started some of the civil drawings, the engineering, and the architectural drawings. If we don't get this loan, that'll be put off for at least the year. but hopefully it'll still be within the 2-year time frame of that application. But even then, we may have to be looking at an extension for that unless we want to really cut down on our donations out to the community.
So between yourself and administration, we can probably expect to see this back on our agenda sometime this fall, late fall.
I would sure hope so. I'd be pleased if you'd make a motion to put it on the agenda, Councillor Kelly.
I would put that to Mr. Fleming.
Yeah, through your worship, I was actually I'll give some process options later in the city manager's update.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I think it's an asset to the city, Don. I'm not surprised you're as busy as you are. My wife and I bought a trailer 7 years ago now. With COVID, it's my humble estimate that the number of RV units, be it tents or trailers, increased in the province by probably 25% or 30%. And there were no that I'm aware of new campgrounds built in the last half a dozen years anywhere in our area. It's very difficult to get spots. So it's popular. People love to do it. It's fair and it's reasonable. And the Lions, I would add, I've not had the pleasure of staying at yours, but I do look up Lions campgrounds in other communities, and they're always exceptionally well run. I assume yours is as well, Don. I think the Lions have the plan figured out, and I'm a big supporter. So I look forward to seeing you guys in front of us again sometime in the next few months, and we'll deal with it then.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. It's clarifying questions. Councillor Abatoye. She'll be on the screen.
Thank you for your presentation, Don. My first question is, what is the total cost of this expansion?
We anticipate that this cost will be in the neighborhood of $300,000.
Okay, so the Lions is going to be putting $150,000 towards the project.
We're prepared to put that much up front. We're going to pay for it all, but it might take a couple of years if we don't get this loan, 3 years
right.
or so.
Okay. My second question is, outside of turning people back and maybe getting the second half of the cost of this expansion, what are some of the other challenges you face as a result of running the campground?
With the expansion or just the running of the campground?
The surrounding.
This round, like the challenges are all in the planning to get it through. We had the surveyors out there, walked every square inch of that for identifying the huge spruce trees. We don't want to take out any more trees than we absolutely have to, of some of the bigger ones that are around, and looking at that sort of thing. And then the electrical part coming in, it has to be expanded again. And those things will be some underground tunneling. There'll be a number of factors. So there is some definite challenges coming forward. And one of the main ones that we anticipate, that we know by talking already, is the contractors are all busy, and they have their challenges with supplies, with people because of the COVID. Everything was set back for a few years. And that's going to be a real challenge. People have slimmed down their operations. So there's going to be some real challenges coming forward on this, but we're prepared to meet them.
Okay, I appreciate your response. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So the only question that I had, do you feel you're busier also because there's more and more events happening in our city that, people are bringing their trailers?
Absolutely, we are. And it's unfortunate we've had to turn down quite a few that want to come out for ball tournaments and whatnot because we can't accommodate 6 and 8 people at once. We've had applications, people phoning from Girl Guides and Scouts that want to come out with a group camping. We have to turn them down. We did try to set up a little temporary group camping down at the far end by Romer's old farmyard down there, but that was turned down by the city on that. So we have to say no to those people. They want to come, and the more events that are coming in town, the people are coming. I've been down there quite a bit this summer as it happened, and talking to the campers, people that are there, and they're involved in the community in a big way, and they love it coming out here.
Okay. And the second question that I have, I know you've got the shower trailer there. So as you expand, is that still going to suffice, or are you going to have to do something different?
No, that'll suffice for now. There's actually not a lot of demand for that because most of the units are all self-contained. There's enough of a demand that it's kept fairly busy, but we keep it locked up and they have to put a deposit down to get a key. So we got a pretty good idea how often it's being used or how many people at least are using it. And so the tent sites and some of the ones that are close enough, the showers are bigger than they are in their units and stuff like that. So it is used. Our long-term plan, not for this expansion, but the one after that, I would hope that we can build a better building, more central to the whole location. But there's space in there for it, but then that's another $300,000 hit right there by itself. So the trailer now is plenty adequate for the next expansion, and I would say it would be somewhat adequate for the whole expansion.
Okay, thank you. And I'll just say I like your little office that you built there, the little chalet. That's very cute.
Thank you. Have you been down and see the new sign that goes with it? It's quite impressive.
I don't know if I've seen the sign, but we will drive down there this weekend. Councillor Nguyen?
Yeah, this campground's a great little gem in our community. I was very impressed. I think I spoke with you at the expansion opening. Just a few questions on details. So 16 more sites. What's the total area that would encompass this expansion? Is that 1 acre or 1.5 acres or something like that? Do you know roughly?
It's about this big to that back.
Yeah, that's what it looks like on a piece of paper.
I don't know.
Okay, yeah, fair enough. And I'm sure that's something that would come with the drawings. And then
actually, I have the drawings here. It's probably marked on here someplace if I could find it, but I'll give it to you to look at later because I'm sure it's on there.
And I'm sure we'll see that in an upcoming report. So and that's fine to wait for that. So and the $150K, which is about half the total expense, that would be mostly covering architectural and engineering, or is that what is your budget look like? How far would that go?
Yeah,
into
the architectural bills will probably be some of the first ones in. And the surveying and some of that is tied in with the engineering. They'll all be the first part up front. The contractors, depending on how that plays out, whether it's Nguyen Construction, will be doing part of it, no doubt, and Nikiforuk Construction will be doing some. And depending on when they get finished and what they do, that'll be towards the end of that'll be the final ones that get paid. The power people as well will be towards the end. So it's hard to say who will be actually the 150. I can't separate out where that's going. If we bring on a contractor and they need $10,000 down, they're going to get it up front.
Right.
So it's spread out through the whole thing.
Okay. One last short question. Are there any seasonal site allocations in this campground at all, or is it all? And is there a limited duration of stay?
Our contract with the city states that we can have up to 50% long-term, which is over 2 weeks. And we have a lot of people that want to stay 2.5, 3 weeks in that neighborhood. But so far this summer, we have not touched that 50% mark. There's plenty. There is a few there that are there for longer periods. I think probably the longest one was there for, he's booked till the end of the year. It'll probably be close to the 4 months. That's somebody that is working here in town. There's a few like that. There's people that have come out from the city that have stayed for over 3 months. But even with those, we're not touching our 50% mark at all.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. That appears to be all the questions. So thank you for coming out this evening with your band of other Lions joining you, and or your Pride of Lions. I don't know which. I think that's what it is. Your Pride of Lions. Mr. Fleming will give us an update later as to which processes, and we will get in touch back with you. Okay.
Thank you very much.
So thank you. So I'm going to suggest a 10-minute recess, or 11 minutes, 3:15. We'll come back. So we will take a little recess right now. Thank you. Okay, if you'd like to take your seats, we're going to get started here again. We will resume the meeting. And the next item on the agenda is 7.3 property tax waiver for tax roll 369-4000.
Good afternoon, Your Worship and members of Council. My name is Trish Norman, Revenue Services Coordinator with the City. I'm here this afternoon to request Council's decision in regards to 4 property tax penalty waiver requests for late payment penalties imposed in 2023. The first request is for tax roll 369-4000. On July 6th of this year, the City of Fort Saskatchewan received an application from the executor requesting a waiver for property tax late payment penalties in accordance with Property Tax Penalty Waiver Policy and Procedure, FIN 029C. As of July 7th of this year, the full balance of outstanding property tax arrears have been paid, including late payment penalties, in the amount of $75.86. The executor has consequently made an application for Council to consider late payment penalty reimbursement under compassionate grounds. Administration is not authorized to make this decision, as only Council has the authority to waive late payment penalties for property taxes. The City relies on property taxes for the funding of City operations and requires that taxes be received on a timely basis. Penalties for late payments of property taxes are assigned to properties to encourage residents to pay their property taxes by the due date. The City provides notice and time for property owners to pay their property taxes. Several payment options exist, allowing property owners to ensure their payments are received by the due date of June 30th. This includes post-dated checks, online payments, and the Ford Electronic Payment Plan, which allows for taxes to be paid via monthly installments. Administration's recommendation is to grant the request for Property Tax Rule 369-4000 to waive the late payment penalties. Administration's recommendation to grant the request to waive the late payment penalties is based on the requirements of the Property Tax Penalty Waiver Policy and Procedure, whereby Council may consider waiver under compassionate grounds where the property taxes were not paid by the payment due date as a result of a death in the immediate family occurring on or immediately prior to the payment due date. I'm now happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you for the presentation. Are there any questions? Councillor Blizzard?
Well, I just noticed that it was paid less than a week after the due date. So does the city call and remind people if they are late, or did this person, it almost seems like they actually forgot, not?
Through your worship to Councillor Blizzard, the city does mail a reminder notice for any properties that remain outstanding after July the 1st.
Okay.
They would have received notification.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. If there is no further questions, what is the wish of Council on this one? Councillor Harris?
I would move that Council grant the request to waive the late payment penalties applied to the associated property roll number 369-4000 on July the 1st, 2023 in the amount of $75.86.
Thank you. I'll accept the motion. Do you wish to speak to the motion?
I don't really have that much to say. In the past, I would generally not be amenable to this sort of thing because ultimately death and taxes are some of the things that ultimately we're all responsible for, and people should know that. But given the circumstances in this one, I think the compassionate grounds make sense, so I'm prepared to move the motion on that basis.
Okay, thank you very much. It's open for discussion and debate. Not seeing any. I'll close the motion. Please cast, or anything on close, you're good. Please cast your vote on this one. That is carried unanimously. Thank you very much. 7.4.
The next application is for tax roll 0310000. On July 26, 2023, the City of Fort Saskatchewan received an application from the property owner requesting a waiver for property tax late payment penalties in accordance with the Property Tax Waiver Policy and Procedure, FIN 029C. As of July 31st, 2023, the property owner has paid the full balance of outstanding property tax arrears, including late payment penalties, in the amount of $114.93. The property owner has consequently made an application for council to consider late payment penalty reimbursement for other reasons as outlined in the application. Administration's recommendation is to deny the request to waive the late payment penalties. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you. Questions of administration? Not seeing any. What is the wish of council? So I'm anticipating if no motion is put forward, then it just goes away. Okay, I'm not seeing any motion coming forward. Okay.
Okay. Move on to the next request for property tax roll 3822000.
Oh, just a sec. Were you on the last one? Yes. Okay, sorry. Just hold that. Councillor Kelly?
Apologies, Mayor Catcher. I know you nodded in the affirmative, Mr. Fleming, but I want to confirm. Failure to make the motion has the same legal consequence as making the motion and not passing it?
Your Worship, that's correct. It's cleaner if council makes the motion and then defeats it, but if no motion is made, then no approval is given. Therefore, it's a denial.
Do you have a preference?
I would prefer that the motion gets moved and defeated.
Thank you.
If it's the wish of council to deny it.
And on that basis, if you chose to back up, Mayor Catcher, I would make the motion and allow for a debate.
Sure. Yep. Go ahead. So we'll just slide back to 7.4. Go ahead and put the motion on.
I think I've got the right one. This is for tax rolls 0, 3, 1, and zeros. Okay. I move that council grant the request to waive the late payment penalties applied to the associated property tax roll of number 0310000 on July 1, 23 in the amount of $114.93.
Okay, I'll accept the motion. You wish to speak to the motion?
I do not. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Discussion and debate on the motion? Not seeing any. Anything on close?
Nothing to add. Thank you.
Okay. So this is a motion to grant the request. So please cast your vote. And that is defeated unanimously. All right, so now we'll move on to 7.5.
The next request is for property tax roll 3822000. On August the 15th, 2023, the City of Fort Saskatchewan received an application from the property owner requesting a waiver for property tax late payment penalties. As of August 31st, 2023, the property owner has paid the full balance of outstanding property tax arrears, including late payment penalties in the amount of $242.73. The property owner has consequently made an application for council to consider late payment penalty reimbursement for other reasons as outlined in the application. Administration's recommendation is to deny their request to waive the late payment penalties, and I'll now be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions? What is the wish of council? Oh, Councillor Kelly.
I will make this motion as well, Mayor Catcher. I move that council grant the request to waive the late payment penalties applied to the associated property tax roll number 3822000 on July 1, 23 in the amount of $79.32 and August 1, 23 in the amount of $163.41.
Thank you. Do you wish to speak to the motion?
No, I do not. Thank you.
Thank you. The motion is accepted. It's open for discussion and debate. Councillor Harris.
So in the report, it shows that we have a staggered penalty of 3% on outstanding current taxes on July 1st, correct?
Through your worship, that is correct.
So ultimately, by staggering our tax penalty requirements for payment, as opposed to 18%, which is the maximum that we can charge, obviously under the Municipal Government Act, we are actually creating a bit of an opportunity. Well, not an opportunity, but we lessen the blow if somebody inadvertently misses paying the taxes. Is that a fair assessment?
Through your worship to Councillor Harris, yes, they're assessed at 3% on July 1st and then sent a reminder in hopes that it's paid before the end of July and the next penalty is incurred.
In a former life, I ran a tax department for a large community, and the penalty on July 1st was 18%. If you missed the payment, it was a big amount, much larger than these. So I can't support the recommendation going forward. I think ultimately, I made the comment earlier, there is a requirement to stay informed as your responsibilities as a property owner and taxpayer. And ultimately, I think we've mitigated some of that damage by reducing the amount over time.
Okay, thank you. Not seeing anybody else for discussion and debate. Councillor Kelly, anything on close?
No, thank you.
Okay, thank you. The motion is now closed, and the motion is to grant the request. Please cast your vote. And that is defeated unanimously. Thank you. 7.6.
The final request is for property tax roll 461-4544. On August the 24th, 2023, the City of Fort Saskatchewan received an application from the property owner requesting a waiver for property tax late payment penalties in accordance with the property tax penalty waiver policy and procedure. As of August the 27th of this year, the property owner has paid the full balance of property tax arrears, including late payment penalties in the amount of $169.52. The property owner has consequently made an application for council to consider late payment penalty reimbursement for other reasons as outlined in the application. Administration's recommendation is to deny the request to waive the late payment penalties, and I'm now happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you very much. Are there any questions? Seeing no questions, what is the wish of council? Councillor Nguyen.
I'll move that council grant the request to waive the late payment penalties applied to the associated property tax roll number 461-455 on July 1st, 2023 in the amount of $55.40 and August 1st, 2023 in the amount of $114.12.
Thank you. Do you wish to speak to the motion?
No.
No. Any discussion and debate on the motion? Anything on close? You're good? Okay, thank you. The motion is now closed and the motion reads to grant the request. Please cast your vote. And that motion is defeated 6-1. All right, we will move right along. We're going to go to bylaws 8.1. All right, we have bylaw C5-23 to amend the Southport Area Structure Plan. Bylaw C14-19, first reading. Welcome.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Your Worship and members of Council. I am Terrence Samra. I'm here to present Bylaw C5-23, an amendment to the Southport Area Structure Plan. I will begin with a brief overview about how planning occurs. When it comes to planning, the Municipal Government Act tells us what to do and establishes a framework for that to happen. The framework is divided into 3 levels of responsibility: provincial, regional, and municipal. We live in the municipal realm, and here's where the Municipal Government Act sets out a hierarchy of planning documents, what those documents do, and how they should relate to each other. As you can see, those documents circled in red include the Municipal Development Plan, Area Structure Plans, Area Redevelopment Plans, Land Use Bylaw, which includes redistricting applications, and at the bottom are development permits and subdivision applications. Today, we are here to discuss area structure plans. The South Fort Area Structure Plan comprises of 700 hectares of land, approximately 218 hectares of undeveloped land remains. The projected population for South Fort is approximately 18,000 to 21,000 residents. The neighborhood will contain an assortment of residential housing types and densities, and the commercial sites will include a power center, neighborhood service node, and a mixed-use site. Bylaw C5-23 amends the South Fort Area Structure Plan with the proposed changes. Removal of an optional road that will extend Greenfield Way from South Fort Drive to Highway 21. Subsequently, redesignate lands along Highway 21 from residential to commercial designation. Revise the future transportation network in the southeast portion of the plan. And lastly, reconfigure the land uses surrounding the revised transportation network, including a school site. The first proposed change is to remove the optional road extending Greenfield Way from South Fort Drive to Highway 21. Extending Greenfield Way divides a city-owned parcel and a privately owned land. Due to the size and configuration constraints with these lands, constructing the road would hinder developability. The purpose of the road was for convenience. However, it is not required to maintain an efficient transportation network. Subsequently, the second proposed change to the area structure plan is to redesignate land along Highway 21 to commercial designation. In February 2022, Council directed administration to publicly list the city-owned land along Highway 21. The current ASP designates the city-owned land as commercial and medium density. These designations were separated by the optional road. With the optional road removed, the boundaries are adjusted to align with property lines. Therefore, the city-owned land is solely designated as commercial and will no longer include the medium density designation. It should be noted that the land use concept plan designations are conceptual and they are not considered as set in stone. The third proposed change is the revision of the transportation network in the southeast portion of the South Fort Area Structure Plan. In April of 2022, the servicing design brief for the annex lands was presented to Council. This report outlines changes to the South Fort road network to better align with road connections to the annex land in the south. Administration recommends to incorporate the road network alignment changes from the servicing design brief to the South Fort Area Structure Plan. And the last proposed change is the reconfiguration of school site and the adjacent lands. The future school site in the southeast portion of South Fort is intended for a high school. Due to the changes in the alignment of the transportation network, the adjacent land uses and school site needed to be reconfigured. Administration consulted with local school boards and local land developer to ensure an efficient design in the school site and adjacent land uses. Fort Saskatchewan values citizen and stakeholder input on development issues and opportunities. Public engagement was incorporated as part of the South Fort Area Structure Plan Amendment and concurrent Land Use Bylaw Amendment. A variety of promotional tools to advertise the proposed amendments and the public open houses were used. 2 open house sessions in June of 2023 were conducted for residents and stakeholders to attend and ask questions. Information packages were sent to residents of residents of South Fort Heights, South Fort Estates, and to other residents within 100 meters of the affected areas of the plan. External agencies also received a copy of the information package to review. Administration also promoted the amendments on the social media and through newspaper ads. A website was also launched which included information on the proposed changes. Attendees of the open house sessions, external agencies, and residents of Fort Saskatchewan were asked to provide feedback on the proposed South Fort Amendment and concurrent Land Use Bylaw Amendment. Most respondents were supportive of removing the optional collector road that extends Greenfield Way from South Fort Drive to Highway 21. Residents believed that the extension of Greenfield Way would escalate traffic and safety concerns within South Fort. Most respondents were silent on the redesignation of land along Highway 21. Some residents indicated a preference for maintaining it in its current state, while other residents questioned its suitability of land use. However, it should be noted that the subject land along Highway 21 is not zoned as green space, but is considered as undeveloped lands. Administration also received feedback from the local school boards and local land developer on the proposed South Fort ASP amendment. Administration consulted and worked with these external agencies and believes the majority of the concerns have been alleviated with the proposed land use concept plan. Should council give first reading to the bylaw, a public hearing will be advertised as per the requirements of the Municipal Government Act. Landowners within 100 meters of the affected areas, along with residents of South Fort Heights and South Fort Estates, will be mailed a notice. A copy of the proposed bylaw is available on the city's website. An advertisement will be placed in the Fort Saskatchewan Record and promoted on the city's social media accounts, and the target date for the public hearing is September 26, 2023. And at this time, I would like to answer any questions that council may have for administration.
Okay, thank you very much for the presentation. We'll go into clarifying questions first. Councillor Harris.
With respect to the property that we own, that we're looking at redesignation and selling, potentially selling, that property in conjunction with the property that's next to it, which is for private sale, we don't have a really good plan for the continuous development of property in that area on the east side of Highway 21. Has administration put any thought into how that might come together? Because we've got an unused road allowance that comes up into that area from South Fort Drive, and then we've got our property and the other property. And is there anything from planning context that shows how that's all going to come together in a contiguous way? Because it looks pretty discontiguous to me.
Through your worship to Councillor Harris, I'm not aware of any possible plans, but I'll defer to Mr. Thomas. He might have any additional information.
Through you, your worship to Councillor Harris, other than the area structure plan, we don't have any further detailed plans for this area.
Okay, so it's up to the private landowners to ultimately come forward with some sort of a kind of a shared development plan for that area, and we obviously are one of the landowners. Would it make sense for us to maybe have a look at that particular issue relative to, now that's a little bit further down the road, but I pose that now to get some thought into it, because it's a jumble of properties coming together in a very restricted area, and I think it needs some careful planning.
Yeah, through you, your worship to Councillor Harris, you're correct. I mean, typically what would happen is the landowners would get together and develop some sort of a conceptual plan for the area and kind of work out how the properties can maybe be consolidated or acquired, and a development proposal could be brought forward. We haven't made efforts to make that happen, at least from the city's perspective.
So as it stands right now, the piece of property that we own, we're likely to sell in that area that we just, consolidated. All we're saying is there's a land use, but we have no idea what could end up on that. That would be up to the private sector to deal with.
Through you, worship. I mean, I think if we were to sell that property, and then the private ownership could potentially come forward with a plan.
Just one last question. So then legal access to our property is off of Highway 21, and there would have to be an intersection constructed to give access into that area, because we've closed off 88, the old undeveloped or unused 88th Avenue, correct?
That's correct. The legal access would be from the highway.
Okay, so that's something down the road. Okay, thanks.
Okay, I just had one quick question. So September 26th, this comes back. Does it have to go to the EMRB? Since it's an amendment?
Mayor Ketcher, no, this would not have to go to EMRB. The reason is under the evaluation framework that the EMRB gives, there are exceptions. If you're doing certain amendments to a plan, if you fall under the exceptions, you don't have to refer to the EMRB, and these amendments fall under that okay. Exception.
Excellent, thank you. Councillor Kelly?
Thank you. My question revolves around traffic, gentlemen. I looked when I read this, and pop between Appendix B and Appendix C in our package. And as I sat here, I did it again. If you have those in front of you, it's the existing land use concept plan, and then the proposed one is Exhibit C. At the bottom of the area outlined, there's a roadway, I assume, that exists right adjacent to the bottom section of the red dotted line. In other words, there's an east-west connector road that joins all of the north-south roads up to get to Highway 21 past, I'll call the Ford dealership.
Through you, Your Worship, to Councillor Kelly, can we maybe have a map up and then maybe we can refer to the...
Okay, which one do we have there? Sorry.
That's Appendix B.
That's the current. Okay, the very bottom of the outlined area, gentlemen, there's arrows that point down or to the south. And if we look at the proposed, the only real difference from the traffic flow perspective, the bottom right-hand corner, I understand that. I think that's pretty clear. I'm looking at the reason for the difference in the downward pointing arrows under the proposed. Look at Exhibit C now, please. And what I'm seeking from you is assurances that access and egress onto Highway 21 is essentially the same under both proposals, both scenarios.
Your Worship, through to Councillor Kelly, just for some clarification, so you're referring to the access onto Highway 21, but looking at this map, you're referring to the arrows that were going down into the annexation area?
Yes, so back up to the one that's up there, which is the actual one. The very bottom of the outlined section, there's downward, which would be southward pointing arrows.
Yeah.
When I look at the drawing for the proposed concept plan, which is the other appendix, if we could flash that up there. The only real change that I can see, other than the bottom right-hand corner, is the lay of the land, those arrows. On my drawing, which one is that? Amendment? That looks different than the one I have on my computer, sorry.
Through you, Your Worship, to Councillor Kelly, so on page 62 of the agenda package, it shows what the ultimate changes would look like. Would that help?
It might. Can we pull up exhibits, Appendix C?
Yeah, can I do that? Yeah, I can do that.
You mean the one closer by the fire hall?
Correct.
Yeah, there was one on, if you look at Appendix C, almost the first page.
Well, it is out of place. It shows up in my report in two separate places, and I'm not sure why. It doesn't matter. So, Mr. Thomas, you pointed me to what, page 62 of...
So in the agenda package, it would be page 62. So that's part of the redlined area structure plan document. So I think we might have it up here.
There it is right here.
There we go.
Yes.
Thank you. So the question is, ignoring the changes in the bottom right-hand corner, which I understand the road alignment and the wet area, take that out. What else changes for transportation routes, arterials or collectors going east-west? And why, in particular, do those little downward-facing arrows change between the two drawings? The whim of the illustrator, or is there a meaning to that?
Fair enough. I think I'll try to answer that. So through your worship to Councillor Kelly. So what these changes are is it reflects the servicing design brief that we had. So the previous area structure plan was kind of designed without having that information, and it had the southerly road kind of create more of a ring road. So now what we're doing is we're creating more of a east-west, north-south alignment of the major roadways. And as a result of that, you're getting more extensions into the area to the south.
Okay. So when I get to, it's disappeared again already. There we go. Thank you. When I hit the proposed east-west road that lies immediately above the dotted red line, that road is going to extend all the way east and west, and eventually, as we make that hook to the north, get the Highway 21 under the new plan as well. Nothing changes there.
That's correct. So the only difference was on the easterly portion of the area structure plan, it would start to curve north.
And it's straightened out.
And
That's
it's straightened out.
Only change. No other change to the timing of the further connections to the south that would eventually tie into Highway 21 as well from the, what's the street I'm looking for? Allard Way, I think.
This would have no effect on the timing.
No effect on the timing of that as well?
Correct.
Great. Thank you. Sorry for the confusion, but that answered my questions.
Okay. Thank you. Councillor Blissard, clarifying questions?
Sure. Right now, and I don't walk this part of the highway that often, if anything, I'm on the north side, but on the south side where the road access is going to not be built, where you've changed the road access, is there still going to be room between the highway and the commercial and whatever residential property area there for a pathway? Because I don't think there is one at the moment, but I do see people walking there. Is there one all along? I think it stops. I was just looking on my phone trying to see, but is there a paved pathway on the south side of Highway 21 between the 7-Eleven and whatever the gas station is on the corner down to Home Depot end? Do you know which area?
Yeah, through your worship to Councilor Blizzard. So yeah, I do understand. So the pathway, I believe it doesn't go all the way to the Home Depot. It does stop at one point, right? And that pathway did kind of follow the old road allowance. One thing I can say is to extend a pathway, like it can be done, but it is through like the subdivision or development permit process. So that is something that can be looked at another, like further down the road.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I just think it'd be vital to have another pathway on the south side for all the people that live there, because this north one's used a lot. But anyway, that's it.
Okay, thank you. We're still into clarifying questions. Councillor Harris?
I'm going to bring that same question up when we talk about the next item, because that's relevant to the property and the path that goes right ultimately to where the end of 88th Avenue that was been closed down. So I'm going to raise that question later, and I think it's germane because we need to do some planning for the continuation of the trail through there, because that's a large void in planning. And that was referencing my earlier comment and questions relative to this massive properties that just is not well planned, needs to be.
You can bring
So
that
I'll bring
up
that
in
up.
debate. Yeah. Okay. Are there any additional clarifying questions? If not, did somebody want to put the motion on for first reading? Councillor Blizzard?
Sure,
Just a sec, there you are.
Sure, I'll make the motion. The council give first reading to bylaw C5-23, which amends Southfort Area Structure Plan, bylaw C4-19, and further that a public hearing be scheduled. And in speaking to that, I think the first reading is always a good thing, and then maybe if there are issues, we will discover them in the public hearing part or in your whatever public or consultations you do.
Okay, thank you. The motion has been accepted. It's been spoken in favor of. It's open for discussion and debate. Councillor Harris on debate.
Yeah, I'll support moving forward on it. Obviously, it's interesting to see the history of the Southfort Area Structure Plan goes way back, and I remember it fondly many years ago. So it's good to see that it's a dynamic document, and given the fact that we are, dealing with the integration of the annex lands and the accesses in and out of those lands going forward from the building area, I think it's relevant, to support it going forward, and I will support it.
Okay, Thank you. I'll support it as well. Some of the history, why there's a dotted line on there, and I'm about the only one left that knows why there's a dotted line on there. Back in the day, so we had the two landowners who came to meet with planning, and I actually worked in planning back then. And one says, I'm going to need highway access. The other one says, I don't want highway access. Planning says, well, what are we going to do? Like, we can't appease both of them. So they said, let's just put in a dotted line and we'll figure it out in the future. We are here at the future now. So times have changed, and I think it absolutely makes sense that it's done this way, because I don't think it needs to go all the way to Greenfield Way, because I think if you get access, whatever develops the other way, there can be cross agreements between them if they want to access back and forth. So that's the dotted line story. All right, not seeing anything else on discussion and debate. Councillor Blizzard, anything on close? No. All right, the motion is now closed for first reading. Please cast your vote. And that is carried unanimously. Thank you very much. And we will move on to 8.2, which is bylaw C7-23 to amend land use bylaw C23-20.
Once again, good afternoon, Your Worship and members of Council. I'm Terrence Hamara, and I'm here to present bylaw C7-23 that redistricts land along Highway 21 within the South Fort neighborhood. The land to be redistricted is in the South Fort Bend community of the South Fort neighborhood, which is located south of Highway 21 and west of the South Point commercial. Bylaw C7-23 redistricts a city-owned parcel along Highway 21 from Urban Reserve to C2 Commercial, Retail, and Service District. The subject area is approximately 2.72 hectares. The C2 district is intended to provide for development of high-quality commercial, such as retail stores, restaurants, and services, while with a primary focus on organized growth along major roads and transportation routes. The highway lands redistricting complies with the city's planning policies as outlined in the city's municipal development plan. The municipal development plan designates this area as developing neighborhood. The municipal development plan articulates objectives for developing neighborhoods and sets the direction for area structure plans. An area structure plan serves as a conceptual guide for land uses. This high-level plan identifies general areas for residential, commercial, parks, and collector roads. The South Fort Area Structure Plan designates the highway lands as a commercial, the South Fort Area Structure Plan, which is in up for debate or for a second and third reading, would designate these lands as commercial, which is shown in red. Commercial sites vary in size, zoning, and location, providing a variety of opportunities for uses and services. The strategic location of commercial sites aim to provide high quality, high visibility for large commercial uses while still providing opportunities for residents to access their daily needs. The land zoned as C2, Commercial, Retail, and Service District is shown in green. The parcel is located in the north part of the South Fort Bend community in South Fort. The proposed C2 district is intended for sites along major roadways and offers good visibility and accessibility. The C2 district allows for development that is consistent and compatible with existing development along the highway corridor. Should Council give first reading to bylaw C7-23, a public hearing will be advertised as per the requirements of the Municipal Government Act. Landowners within 100 meters of the affected areas, along with residents South Fort Heights and South Fort Estates will be mailed a notice. A copy of the proposed bylaw is available on the city's website. The advertisement has been an advertisement will be placed in the Fort Saskatchewan Record and promoted on the city's social media accounts, and the target date for the public hearing is September 26, 2023. And at this time, I'd like to answer any questions that council may have for administration.
Okay, thank you. I'll take clarifying questions. Councillor Harris.
Looking at Appendix B, if you can bring that up. We're showing the piece of property that's been consolidated and with the undeveloped road allowance and our property, those two lots. We're proposing that it go from urban reserve to C2. If you look across the highway to the privately owned property on the other side of the highway, it's zoned as direct control A 0007. Is there a reason why we wouldn't consider this to be a direct control district as well, respecting the fact the other one is privately owned, and we obviously would have a higher level of control because it backs out onto a lot of residential properties. But this one, if it's sold to a private developer and it's C2, then whatever is contained within the C2 zoning and the land use bylaw is a go. Had you given any consideration to it actually being a direct control area so that it would have to come back to council and we would be kind of aware of what's going on? Because as I've indicated, the number of properties in that area and the odd shaped properties are going to make it extremely difficult to develop in a meaningful way. Had you given any consideration to direct control as opposed to C2?
Your Worship, through you to Councillor Harris, I guess the short answer would be no. The property across the highway is site specific because it is direct control administration. So specific provisions were built into that district to ameliorate some of the issues of backing onto the more sensitive use behind. So in this case, the predominant or the kind of the appropriate conventional district along the highway is C2. If it does get sold and the future owner of that property has something specific in mind that is outside of the C2 district, they could come forward with a site-specific districting as well.
Yeah, I see the property is somewhat odd shaped and whatnot, and I get that. But so ultimately, planning is comfortable with the fact that we have this mishmash of properties in that area, and we don't know what's going to happen, and we haven't given it too much thought. And so you're comfortable with that as the head of planning?
Through your worship, I think it would be ideal if there was some more comprehensive planning that's being done in this area. It is, when you have a number of properties like this and different ownership, it does pose difficulties. Typically what happens is when the properties are owned privately, then they can potentially get together, or if there is interest or a developer that maybe would have ownership within the properties, they could look at acquiring future land. Yeah, okay. I think we're at the point where we're looking at, because we own these particular, this particular parcel, that if we sold it, it could generate interest to develop that area.
Okay, second question that I've got, looking at Appendix C, which has got an aerial and with the green block for this UR to C2 designation. So it does demonstrate that 88th Avenue was closed in 2005. That kind of roadway, which was semi-developed into a path, and goes to Councillor Burgett's earlier question about continuity of the continuation of the path to ultimately come up towards 94th Street and Highway 21. That gives access to that private, well, I don't know who owns it now, but the cell phone tower in behind Southford Bend. Does Southford Bend own that property and that they have an agreement with the cell phone tower? Does the cell phone tower company own that? Because that's the legal access, even though it's not generally other than for service, I would presume.
Through your worship, the council here, that's correct. It is the legal access, and it would be owned by the owner, whoever owns the cell phone tower. It's their property owner. Southward Bend would not be involved.
Yeah. Okay. Can you confirm that that is owned by the cell phone tower company, Bell or whoever it is?
Your worship, that is something we can bring back at second reading.
Yeah, because I think that's going to be something we're going to have to be mindful of going forward relative to access in that area and access into the property we're trying to sell. So there's a mishmash of stuff here, and I think it needs a lot more thought process.
Okay, you're good?
Yep.
Councillor Noyen, clarifying questions?
Yeah, just a question regarding the potential phase of expansion or widening for Veterans Way. So we wouldn't have to subdivide this parcel to allow an appropriate width of easement for that widening. Then there is, it's hard to tell on this map, but there is by the looks of it a width of ditch for expansion there. But that allows us enough to work with for future widening for the corridor.
Through your worship to Councillor Noyen, my understanding is the road right-of-way is suitable right now to accommodate expansion, but that's something we could look into for second reading.
Because there would be that right-of-way and then potential another lane.
Janelle, would you like to?
Yeah, through your worship, I can confirm that detail. The road widening is within the existing right-of-way.
Okay, perfect, thanks. I had one other question, forgetting it now, so maybe come back to me.
Okay, Councillor Kelly.
Thank you. Just going to backtrack to where Councillor Harris left off to make sure that I understand. So again, I'm still looking at the aerial map, which I think is C in Appendix C. And you can see if you expand at the cell phone tower, if the area that's proposed for rezoning is purchased by one person, one customer, and they develop that whole property, where does the access to the cell tower come from?
Through your worship to Councillor Kelly, so when the road closure for this property happened last year, we only closed the road up to a certain point, so there was always going to be access to the cell phone tower.
Coming in from the other side, is that what you're telling me?
Yes, that's correct. Even though the road is closed, it's technically not closed, if that makes sense, like as an illegal standpoint. So the road is closed to the public, like you can't drive a car on there, but it's not closed like that, as if it doesn't have like a legal title.
So on the map that's on the screen, please, the bottom left-hand corner of the green area has a little indent, and it's adjacent to that indent where the cell phone tower exists. So take your cursor, please, and show me where the access to that cell phone tower comes from, if all of the area in green is developed and paved over by the new owner.
Through your worship, Councillor Kelly, so I can show you right here. So it would actually come through to where the Petro-Canada is, the pathway along the 7-Eleven. It actually would come north here. The reason we have the indent is that's actually where the entrance to the Shaw Tower is. So we actually made an indent so they could access their property there, because that's where their the gate is.
Thank you. So now I understand. Thank you. And you're confident that trail along there will accommodate the equipment necessary to build the second cell tower when they apply for one?
Through your worship to Councillor Kelly, it has served them very well up to this point.
Okay.
It is a roadway that does provide legal access to that site.
Okay, thank you. That makes it clear for me. The roadway that was closed off and amalgamated, does that have a utility easement under it?
Through your worship to Councillor Kelly, no, I do not believe it does.
I think it is utilities. I had a citizen that was inquiring about the property who was concerned about the easement under that property, under that road allowance. Or the easement, underneath the road allowance. Could you get back to us?
Yeah, definitely.
Perfect. And then, if in fact that's the case, a brief comment, if you could, on how that affects the desirability or developability of that particular piece of land.
Okay. Mr. Fleming?
Yeah, just through your worship, just so council's aware, we have done a significant amount of work researching the issue of the utility easement on the property. And we do believe we've created a lot of clarity for potential buyers on how it would impact the developability. And we think it's fairly manageable. So we can return with a comment on that with second reading with the information that we found out. But we believe we were, I think, even a little unclear at the start, and we think we've gotten some clarity since then.
Okay, Councillor Blizzard, questions?
Yep. Well, I don't know, question, but we kind of are the city of pathways, and I'm going to go back to what I asked earlier. It doesn't look like there's going to be room for any pathway, and I think that would be a vital thing on the south side of the highway. Would we have space, or why wouldn't we keep a few more meters to allow for that?
Through your worship to Councillor Blizzard, so I believe our transportation master plan does identify a trail adjacent to this property.
Okay.
Through the development process, we do have the power and the ability to require the proponent to build a trail adjacent to this property.
You know this is recorded, right? And come back to it when we build it. All right, thank you.
Okay, do you have questions, Councillor Harris?
I do. So just a clarification to Councillor Kelly. So the legal access to this property that we'd be selling is off of Highway 21 in an intersection location that would be contingent with the intersection Highway 21 and 94th Street, right? So it comes back and it'll be so many meters back from that would give access in more or less the center of the site. So that's the legal access. 88th Avenue that's been closed off, that's a temporary thing just strictly for the cell tower, correct? We're not going to see, to your point, cars rolling up and down there. That's not the envisioned thing. It's going to be part of the pathway, which it is right now, correct?
Through your worship, Councillor Harris, that is correct.
Good. Thank you. Thanks for clarification.
Okay, thank you. Not seeing any additional questions. Would somebody like to put a motion on for first reading? Councillor Harris, go ahead.
I would move that Council give first reading in bylaw C723 to amend land use bylaw C2320 by redistricting Lot 5 Block 1 Plan 2320401 from a UR Urban Reserve to C2 Commercial Retail and Service District, and further that a public hearing be scheduled.
Right, I'll accept that motion. Would you like to speak to it?
Yeah, I think it's just a normal process to allow this happen. I mean, if we can sell the property and move it into appropriate development context in the South Fort area, I think that's positive for our community. And it may not happen in the immediate future, but obviously sometime these types of development take a while. But I think it's supportable.
Okay, thank you. It's open for discussion and debate. Not seeing anything on close?
No.
Okay, the motion is now closed for first reading. Please cast your vote. That is carried unanimously. Thank you. Are there any notice of motions? New ones? Thank you very much, gentlemen. Not seeing any. Are there any points of interest? Anybody would like to share? Not seeing any. Any councillor inquiries of administration? Not seeing any. Then I will take a motion to go in camera as per Freedom of Information and Privacy. Councillor Macon. Whoops. Go ahead, Councillor Macon.
I'll make the motion that we move in camera for reasons covered under FOIP.
Thank you. Please cast your vote. And that is carried unanimously. So thank you very much. We will now move in camera.